That's awesome. I really like that story. And a couple things to note, like it's 27 years, that's a long time. And also, I think your wife is very smart too by saying, "Hey, save up 6 months of expenses and as a backup plan." I really like that. It's interesting. I don't know if I've ever shared on this podcast or not, but similar to you, I've heard this before in other entrepreneurs and other people in the business space, is something like a traumatic event or something happening in their life that makes them shift their mindset or their thinking a little bit. I had a friend. I used to work for the government, for the DoD, for a really long time, and I had a friend pass away he was about my age, of cancer, and it like it switched my mindset a little bit. Like, I need to be more eager and seek out things that I want versus just staying in the middle of the road. And so it sounds like you had a similar, you had either a traumatic or you had an event in your life that challenged the way you thought, and you made changes, huge life changes because of that. And so it's interesting.
Yeah. And I call it this clarifying decision because it kind of takes like a lot of times we get scattered in all directions. I say kind of like a lantern, right? And it kind of takes you from the lantern phase to the laser phase, where you just you put all your resources and everything back of that one thing and you just go for that one thing, And so I think sometimes it's like that. If you're going to quote, fire the man, it's going to take that kind of really kind of total focus in and to get over the hump. Now, once you get out, at that point, my business was making the same as my job, but a year later, my business was earning me 3 times as much as my job, and it's never gone below that. So, it's once you get free, like I didn't realize when I added it up, I was spending like 50 to 55 hours a week on the job. If you include like driving there, all the stuff, right? So it was when I got that time back, I mean, then it was like a turbocharge to my business, right? So, anyway, yes, you are right that you make that clarifying decision and you just put everything behind that. And then it cuts you through the fog. Shiny objects, if someone had a shiny object and it wasn't part of one of those 2 businesses I built, I didn't care about it. I got really, really focused in on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And talk about a good why. I call them whys, but yeah, children is a really
Yeah.
huge motivator, right? So
Yeah,
that's
children
awesome.
health is a big one, friends, and sometimes life events. Sometimes, you can get fired from a job or something, some kind of life-changing event. And sometimes that can make you or that can break you. So you have to, it can be, tough as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dig into and you mentioned the acronym earlier. I don't want to butcher it. I'll let you say the acronym, but I want to dig into it a little bit.
So the acronym is WYTAYBA. What you think about, you bring about. And so it's a combination of your thoughts, right? What you think about, but then it's got an action component. You bring it about. And so a lot of brain science, well, first of all, you can go back thousands of years, and as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, and all these different people. We become what we think about. That's what the guy Earl Nightingale talks about. So there's a lot of kind of instantiations of this type of a phrase that dominant thought equals dominant behavior, right? But the difference is that what you think about, you bring about, is that you can take an active role in kind of programming where your thoughts go. And so for example, I give this example. My son, when he bought his first car, it was this maroon colored Acura TL. Now, I didn't even know what that looked like, but he sent me a picture, right? And so after he sent me the picture of that car, for the next couple of weeks, that car's everywhere in that exact color. I see it on the highway. I see it. It pulls up next to me. Like all of a sudden, who put all these cars by me? Nobody. They were always there. I was just tuned into it. And so science has, shows you that there's at the back stem of the brain, this thing called the reticular activating system, or the RAS. That's the thing that regulates and decides what it sends to the conscious mind, right? So it's, your brain is like doing your breathing and your blood, keeping your blood pH the right way. It's doing like thousands of things at once, but it decides, what do I pass up to the conscious mind? And so once I had that Acura TL on my brain, I'm seeing it all over, right? And so that concept works in when you're trying to bring something about in your life, right? So we say what you think about, you bring about. And so it can start in a very small way, right? So you can say, okay, I'm thirsty, and then I can bring about this water. and I can take a sip. So I just used WYTAYBA right there. But now you can start to do that for bigger and bigger things, right? So maybe some new movie comes out and you want to see this new movie, so then you WYTAYBA that, right? So, okay, when is it showing in the theaters? Who could I see it with? And then you go about making that thing happen. So you can that's what happened to me in college, is that I realized that I could dictate not the circumstances of my life, but how I responded to those circumstances. And that's what made all the difference. So anyway, I went on, I did maybe we'll talk later, but I did a TEDx talk all about this concept of WYTAYBA and the power that it has to kind of dictate where you end up in life. And so that can be good or bad. And if you're in a bad spot, you might have WYTAYBA that as well. Or because you didn't do any WYTAYBA, then you got sucked into somebody else's WYTAYBA, or, if you don't plant anything in the garden, then the weeds are going to grow or nothing grows. So you can kind of end up a little bit of drifting in the wind. But wherever you are in life, you can kind of step back, take control of those thoughts, and really begin to direct your life in the direction you want to go.
Probably go swimming with my son. He's at the pool now. And then I would take my dog for a walk. He loves walks. And then it gets me outside, because I'm like you, I work from home inside an office. And so, yeah, I would hang out with my son and take my dog for a walk.
Perfect. All right. So what I want the listeners to think about is, what would that be? Because as you compress time, I want you to put more of that into your life, because in the end, I've studied a lot of people, interviewed a lot of people, and at the end of the life, they don't say, "Oh, I wish I had built my business more." They almost always say, "I wish I had more memorable moments with the people that I love." And it's interesting that when I talk about the guilt-free time, a lot of times things with other people, especially people that you love, come up.